All right, just give me 1 minute here. Lots of things to get into. It's wow, and one of the biggest things right now, South Korea. Holy shit! 142 new cases, overnight. So it was, that's crazy. I don't understand it, but anyway. Let's get right back into this broadcast. As I started in my last stream, and I got so rudely interrupted by whatever kind of powers that be intervened. Mostly like my computer's just a piece of crap. So too many windows, and it just shits the bed. So anyway, right back into this, and it's the most up to date kind of thing, topics, I guess. It's going to give us a good starting point to kind of branch off of and go into some news and some science and some there's just and I should say, just as not that I'm going to try and sugarcoat this or nothing, but just for people, like you know what I mean, it's one of those situations where it's very serious now. It always was serious, but we're just most people are just trying to seeing it for the first time how serious it is. So it's just keeping your chill, right? I must stress that, and I'm not a doctor, I'm not fucking, but it's true. If you start panicking or something in a situation like this, it's only going to weaken your immune system, right? It takes a lot of energy to panic, and overstressing, right? It's a tough thing to balance. And I'm not saying I'm going to be able to do it perfectly, and nobody's going to be able to perfectly do it, but it's just keep in mind, right? Because we're at the stage right now where things are just developing so fast. And I don't know if it's related, but I'm up in Canada, and our whole rail system has shut down. Like, they laid off like 450 train engineers or conductors, and like it's just stopped. Like, I'm in the East Coast, and it's basically like, if we rely on stuff that comes from across from the Pacific, from the west to the east or something, it's not good. So, there's just lots of things happening. There's crazy stuff happening in Iran. Iran's reporting huge amounts of cases. Oh, I could go into it. But anyways, let's get into this broadcast here. It's actually pretty good, and that's why I picked it out. And I want to share it. So, hope you enjoy it. It's...
The Chinese doctor who sounded the alarm on novel coronavirus has died from the disease.
被称为这场疫情的吹哨人。
在他的死讯当传染之际，提醒了中国大陆社会来自
The Chinese authorities have tried to control the information.
Unprecedented anger on the already heavily censored Chinese social media.
Hello, I'm Richard Gisbert, and you're at The Listening Post. Among the media stories that we're covering this week, transparency, the managed kind. Beijing's approach to controlling the narrative on the coronavirus remains a work in progress. And trying to keep fear of the pandemic contained in places like Germany. They're loud, they can bully, they call themselves nationalists, and they are some of India's most watched news anchors. Plus, the Duterte government in Manila, having gone after news websites it doesn't like, now targeting the country's biggest broadcaster. 2 weeks ago, when we first examined the official Chinese response to the coronavirus outbreak, Beijing was in damage control mode. The government had been slow to respond, its media outlets had downplayed the seriousness of the threat, and lives were lost as a result. One of those deaths, a doctor in the frontline city of Wuhan, has caused collective outrage online. Li Wenliang was amongst the first to raise the alarm. He was then taken into custody and forced to confess to wrongdoing, rumor-mongering, for doing his job, essentially. It is rare for the Chinese to openly criticize their government, rarer still when those criticisms on social media are not instantly deleted by censors. However, for a brief period of time, that's what was happening online. For Chinese journalists, there was a temporary window that opened for some hard-hitting investigative reporting. It appears that window has closed again. The term that China watchers are now using to describe Beijing's approach to the coronavirus story is inherently oxymoronic. They call it managed transparency. Our starting point this week is Ground Zero, the city of Wuhan. Of all the casualties of this coronavirus, none has made more news in China than Dr. Li Wenliang. On December 30th, Li used a closed messaging group to tell colleagues of the seriousness of the strain. He said he did not intend the message to be shared, which it was. He was then taken into custody and forced to apologize for spreading rumors. Li contracted the virus, succumbing on February 7th and unleashing a wave of fury online, the likes of which the Chinese authorities seldom see or tolerate.
Loads of China watchers, including myself, we would never see this coming. We already know that the public was angry about the handling of the virus and probably about the covering up of facts. But we wouldn't expect this kind of outpouring of anger toward the government to emerge online. People, remarkably, they also posted something like, I want freedom of speech on Weibo, China's equivalent of Twitter. And then that hashtag was viewed more than 1.8 million times before it got deleted.
When there are so many people feel so strongly about his death, it won't be wise for the authorities to really just block all the comments.
对于李文亮医生的不幸去世，我们表示沉痛的哀悼。
The state media, they do report on his death, but the language they use are mostly focusing on, we have so much respect for this doctor, for what he did as a doctor, not for what he did as a whistleblower.
当然，这样的职业精神也体现在此时此刻仍然奋战在抗击疫情一线的千千万万的医护人员身上。
They are focusing on one part they want people to focus on about Dr. Li Wenliang, but not really on the part that people care about mostly about the freedom of speech.
Citizens have taken the coronavirus story into their own hands and devices. That is the biggest single change since the SARS coronavirus story of 2003. The Chinese had internet access back then, but social media was not anything like the news source it is today. Chen Qiushi, a lawyer turned blogger, has documented the hospitals overloaded with patients. Fang Bin, who's in the clothing business, posted images of body bags destined for the crematorium. And then had his phone camera rolling when the authorities came calling. Both are now assumed to be in custody. But there are another 50 million people under quarantine, and they have a lot of time to tell their stories.
The social media role in covering this crisis has been truly unprecedented. It's been the first epidemic, the first major disease in China that's been truly televised. So whether you're stuck at home alone in Wuhan, not seeing any relatives or not being able to buy groceries, if you're a doctor fighting this disease in a hospital that's overcrowded, or if you're a patient who's struggling to get into the hospital, we're seeing those stories through social media. Anybody who's far away from Wuhan, including international observers, have been able to witness and even feel what it's like to be part of this epidemic. That's something that I think is truly moving. It's emotional, but it also puts a lot of pressure on state authorities at the local and central level to react, to beat this disease, and to bring people together.
It also exposes the country's primary news channels, which for weeks were providing far less information than social media was. Domestic news outlets, especially national channels and newspapers, have been state-controlled ever since the communists took power more than 70 years ago. There have been some temporary openings for more adventurous reporting, most recently during the time of the Beijing Olympics in 2008. Those freedoms were already dissipating by 2012, when Xi Jinping took power. By 2016, the president was touring media outlets demanding, in his words, their absolute loyalty to the party in thought, politics, and action. On the coverage of the coronavirus, that is what the president got. Liu Xin hosts an opinion program at the state-funded channel CGTN.
There's a fundamental premise that's wrong with this question, saying that the state media might have a different agenda in not reporting the truth of the story. Basically, when CCTV, the state media, in your words, interviewed one of the utmost experts in China on fighting the virus on the 20th of January, and Mr. Zhong Nanshan told people
现在还是有出现人传人的这个现象。
that is when the public was alerted to the potential scale, to potential severity of this epidemic. So I don't think it is anywhere the state media that was suppressing the severity of the situation.
But the interview Liu Xin refers to on January 20th came more than 3 weeks after Dr. Li Wenliang had put the word out. It was old news. There has been some first-rate journalism produced by Chinese news outlets, just not on national television and not for long. The Caixin Media Group specializes in periodicals and online content. The Economist magazine has called Caixin the rarest of things in China, a courageous media outlet pursuing the truth in the face of intimidation.
They produced probably the best coverage about coronavirus so far. So they had this like 4 parts coverage about the virus, and it reveals how the virus unfolded in Wuhan and how the government probably has covered up some of the facts about the virus and delayed the reporting of the virus, leading to the public crisis we say now. And that was quite remarkable to do such hard-hitting coverage, because usually they would be subject to heavy censorship.
But the freedom Caixin had to do that reporting would prove temporary. By early February, the window for most of that kind of journalism had slammed shut. The Chinese media have since shifted their focus to the positive side of the story. Doctors, officials, and aid workers all described in heroic terms. The standard for that kind of messaging, the emphasis on the collective response over the search for accountability, is set by state-controlled channels like CGTN and CCTV.
Almost every report, if you open Chinese, news portals, you'll see it's mostly positive reports celebrating the heroes of the virus, the medical professionals, the officials who are fighting it, the public itself.
他们日夜奋战、迎难而上的作风让人感动。
Here we are, together, and every Chinese person has to fight, and we're there for the nation. And of course, President Xi himself has appeared in the limelight of the media for the first time since the outbreak of the crisis.
信心百倍地打好这一场阻击战。
He visited a local residential area in Beijing. He was wearing a mask, and he was talking to the local people, and people were responding very actively, in high spirit, I would say. That piece of video I noticed was watched almost 15 million times and got over 200,000 thumbs up. So I think people in general responded well to his message that he is there, with the people, being with the masses and showing his leadership.
Xi Jinping went to this hospital in Beijing and he video chatted with doctors from Wuhan. One thing we have to note is that Xi Jinping has never set a foot in Wuhan so far. But what we really want is to really know what the central government has in plan to really cure the disease, to really address the issue, to really respond to people's demands for freedom of speech. But I think those core questions, they probably will never get answered.
Yeah, so we'll leave that right there. That's just, it goes into some more global news. It's kind of off topic from what we're kind of going on right now, so I have a hard enough time staying on topic as it is. Yeah, so wow, like what's there's just so much going on with this. Wait, that's science. We don't want to do that yet. That's science. Yeah, science is like good, but then there's like real life situations as well. And actually, I never checked in a while. Science isn't really going to save us a whole lot. Well, I shouldn't say that. No, that's. I mean, information at this point right now is not going to slow the virus in a sense. Yeah, they kicked out the 3 journalists in Beijing, the 3 American journalists. Of course, why wouldn't they? You know, they were reporting on the truth. And, you know, China's... Everybody knows that the media in China is just severely censored. And it always has, but now it's just, you know, and not only that, China does have, like, the world's leading technology for censorship, for catching this kind of stuff, right? They really do. They're a very highly advanced technological company, country. But wow, like, what the hell? I don't even know where to start. Yeah. So let's check this. Where was the stock markets? I thought I had the stock markets. Apple took, oh my fuck. Well, they took another crunch, but to another 2.7. Holy shit. Okay, so Apple took a 5% drop. When was it? It was last Monday, I think. Or was it this Monday? Yeah, I think it was this Monday, just past Monday, from the 22nd. So anyway, 5% drop for Apple was $72 billion. A 5% cut, and they just took another 2.7. So that's half a, holy fuck, that's over $100 billion. Apple just lost $100 billion. Wow. Citigroup down 2.6. General Electric down 2. Google's down. Microsoft's down. Do you know why? Do you know why this is all dropping? Like 3%? Fucking Google. Google's 2.27. Fuck, that's big. That's probably like over. Yeah, that's probably like 70, 80. No, that's probably more than that. Yeah, that's probably 70, 80, 90 billion. Or no, wait, that's actually way more than that. 2.27 for Google. I don't know, but that's a shit ton. I don't know. I'm not a stock person, but I understand that these little drops, like, holy fuck, 0.78, almost a 1% drop in the Dow. If it goes down below 2% in the Dow, well, the Nasdaq's almost at 2. Holy fuck. It's big, right? And it's going to affect everybody real fast, like out of nowhere. So if you got the ability to go out and get some supplies and some medications, if you're anything that you need to stock up on, right? Get it now before the supplies get low, because they are getting low, actually, because there's nothing coming out of China anymore. China is a big producer of medications and all kinds of stuff, but mostly medications that are really important right now, more than anything, like modern technology. And most they do generic medications. A lot. And there's nothing coming out. The mail isn't even going in China anymore. If you send anything, like if you send a letter to China or FedEx or anything like that, it just does not go. There's no service there. Like it's no matter what the numbers say, no matter what this like chart. I don't even know what the chart is. I stopped looking at it so many times. Yeah, I don't even got it up, but. Yeah, I don't know what it's up to, like 80,000 or something like that. But it's just, oh my fuck, that's so bullshit. We just got 130 cases, or 130 some cases out of South Korea, like overnight. Oh fuck. And that's lag data. You can guarantee that no matter how they test this or how late it becomes available to officials by the time it gets reported to the media, but that's just a little bit of lag. It might be a half a day or a couple of hours, But the main lag is, the latency in this period of waiting is the testing period. It really, there's no other way to test this except for, confirming it diagnostically, unless you do, a laboratory test. They have to do a PCR test. And it takes time because it's a highly sensitive test. It's so sensitive that it creates flaws in itself. I know that sounds contradictory, but that's what it does, because any type of contaminant or any kind of something that might be already present in your bloodstream, or anything just like contaminants from the laboratory not being cleaned properly, or the utensils or anything, it can give false readings. And on top of that, we've had issues with testing kits and diagnosing or getting this reagent. It's like a reagent that allows the virus to grow in a whole, like actually tens of millions of copies really fast, so that they can analyze it. They can analyze it a lot easier. It's like blowing it up and being able to get more out of it for sure, right? So they can study them more easily. But this here was created, it was wrong. Whatever happened in the manufacturing process, they had to make it again. So there's all kinds of issues with gathering this data. Like, what might be 100, like if this is, to explain the exponential growth of a virus and how it spreads is dependent on a couple of factors. One, of course, like if you're infected, how social are you? Are you going out and being very social with a lot of people, and are you interacting with a lot of people on a daily basis, right? Or are you more introvert and you're inside? It depends on a lot of factors, mostly that. But if you're being infectious and you don't know how many people are actually infectious with this, because there's you wouldn't even know you're infected. They're saying most times the cases are really mild, and I know that might sound like a good thing, but that's actually that's actually horrible, because people aren't going to be running to the hospital over just a little, I just don't feel good today. We all get like that. And to the most times, people who are viciously spreading this are also not showing any symptoms. Like we know from the guy in the UK from the ski resort. Like he went skiing, he went to a business meeting. Actually, he went to a business meeting first, and then he went to went skiing in the Alps, and infected people there. And then he went home and he infected people there. And he didn't have any symptoms, but he was considered a super spreader, because on paper what they could track for sure was 11 people, for sure. So there's obviously a super spreading event happening in Iran, they believe, because it's just going up. I'm not sure. We'll try and find some. It's a lot, right? But Iran is one. Japan is another big one. They let all those people come back against the CDC's recommendations from, they took them all back on the plane. I don't know, but anyway, whatever. I guess they're home. It's better, it's better to have them back home, right? I don't know. I guess, if you're a family member and you're got somebody over there, of course, it's going to be good to have them back home. But at the same time, what are we bringing back? It's not that it's their fault that they're infected with this, but what is this? They still have no idea. Not a goddamn clue. And if they do, they're not telling us. And that could be a very good place to, kind of go off topic for a minute, because like this is very political, and it's not really off topic, but it's super political, and it's very touch and go right now, because there's billions, hundreds of billions of dollars being lost pretty well, like, every few days. And it's only going to get worse. It's only going to compound itself. Because once things start shutting down, it's only going to keep, it'll just be like, it'll go straight, it'll go down as fast as the coronaviruses are going up. All right, and it's just the way it is. And from a political standpoint, we got to be very, very careful. You must realize the tensions are high. You got these people who are used to sitting in their fucking ivory towers and just, probably looking down on humanity like pieces of shit. Not to say all of them are like that, but, most, that's why they're rich, because they're ruthless as fuck and they're just arseholes, right? Not to say everybody's like that, but at the highest levels, yeah, goddamn right. The highest levels, I don't think there's one person in there that wouldn't be sacrificed, no. So these guys are very upset. Okay, they're very upset, and they're kind of like getting a little antsy at this point. Big things are happening. They're probably just going on the numbers out of China. Most people are just going by the, everybody's like not digging into conspiracy theories, because like that shit happened before a lot, and it was kind of downplayed, and everybody just kind of is like, meh. This is the real news. This is what we're going by. This is the real numbers. It's not that bad. But hey, look, all the money's going. Where's the money going? Jeez, there's only like 80,000 people infected. Less than 100,000 people, and less than like, I don't know, less than 3,000 people dead. Officially somewhere around there. And yet, the world markets are taking hundreds of billions of dollars in losses. I don't know. It's right? And right now, there's a lot of people that are very anxious, and they have power. Probably too much power that any one person should have in, a crisis situation on a global level like this. Because, all it would take is somebody who like feels like, oh fuck, it's, at the highest level, to do something stupid, and it could create a fucking, domino effect on a global level, like, let's say, a war. This could cause a war before the fucking virus gets everybody. Seriously. So it's not saying that it's gonna happen, but we don't know what's happening at these utmost highest levels. At the highest levels, it's like a whole fucking different game. They don't look at us like people. They look at statistics, and they're running, a directive, right? Of course they are. Of course they got a master plan, but this is fucking interfering with their master plans. You see what I'm getting at? And now they're becoming a little fucking agitated. So we just got to be aware of that. And you can tell, they're just not going to be hitting the golf courses and fucking just drinking margaritas on their yachts like they're usually doing. And if they are, they're not doing it very comfortably. So, yeah, it's a whole new thing, even to take this on a political level, right? The virus is one thing, politics is another thing, humanity is another thing. There's just a lot, right? And right now is just one of those times where you got to start questioning seriously about being prepared, just in case. Like, what, do you know how fast it happened in China? we can go check some videos. Want to go look at some let's go look at some videos. And I picked some ones out that are specifically on point, and there's actually public broadcasts. Actually, we'll hit up the mainstream media one first from CBC, and they show some images out of Wuhan, but this is a long time ago. This is around the 20th of January, around my birthday, because that's when I ran. That's when I started following this, and I was like, what the hell? But I seen all these videos, and these are old. I just want to make note of that this isn't recent videos, and I will these are old, weeks and weeks and weeks old, and you can tell that it's a lot worse than you could imagine there right now. Okay, yeah, South Korea confirms 142 new cases. And that's lag data, right? If there's 142, there's 1,000. Easily. And if there's 1,000 within a day, there'll be thousands. Within 2 days, there'll be tens of thousands. This thing isn't like what we think it is. And I've been doing some scientific stuff as best as I can. And I am not, I'm not very knowledgeable in every aspect of it, but I understand the basic principles enough to interpret some very startling things that are going on genetically and characteristically, like behavior wise, with this. So it's, yeah, and this is just information for people, all right? And I'm not trying to put this out there to freak people out. But you know what? We gotta man up, put our fucking big boy pants on and big girl pants on, because it's not, it's not something that we can avoid at this point. I really don't think so. I watched the World Health Organization's update today, and their latest one, and they actually seem just exasperated and just deflated. They really do. Like, they're answering questions, but they, you can just see it in them that they're just like they've, and they're just key things that he's been talking about. So it's not wildfire in the West or most places yet, but Asia and certain places around there, it is, and we have a chance. And he's always been talking about the window of opportunity. Right, and if you go back and just, I'm actually going to try to do a collage, but because I do have specific times marked out where he does mention the window of opportunity through his speeches of all the updates, and every update he mentions the window of opportunity. And lately, he said, again, and he always mentions it a few times within the speech. Says the window of opportunity, we have to use it. It's getting smaller. Let's not waste this window of opportunity. So let's not do that. Let's not waste it. Right? And it's gonna be people have to pull together as people, and get to, I don't know how bad this is gonna be, like how do you organize something? Like, does everybody just say fuck it and like everybody start going to like Newfoundland? Because I don't think no, because then you'd have to quarantine people, right? How do you know who'd be coming in and who'd be sick and who wouldn't? It would almost be something that would have to roll over time, and it would take out whoever it takes out, and the ones that are able to get to somewhere that possibly not infected, but that's how bad I think it is, personally. And that, that's just my opinion. And, but I'm just going to provide this information for you guys. And yeah, straight into these videos. Oh, wait, no, that's World Health. Let's see if I can find it. Oh, I'm terrible at queuing things. Nope. Damn. My apologies. Is it? I just got too many things. I really do. And it's oh, here we go. Oh wait, is this it? No. Damn it. Oh well. Okay. Maybe it's not. I was going to show you a CBC one, from CBC News, and this even might be it. I don't know. But anyway, we're gonna watch it. Actually, I think this is from Xinjiang. This is. Oh yeah, this is when they sealed off the houses. Okay. Yeah. So this is the quarantine measures that they're taking, and essentially, if you are infected, or if you think to be infected, or if, let's say, they go around and you have a temperature, right? And you're getting like higher temperature, you're getting worse, they just seal you inside the house. That's what they do. If you know, they're sealing up whole entire apartment complexes, like welding the doors shut. But what if there's a fire, right? People are using buckets. People are actually using buckets out the window to lower down like high-rise buildings on like fucking makeshift ropes and everything, just down to the bottom, and then people are grabbing it, and it's like a huge chain system. And I know how that works because I was in prison. We used to have to, when we were on lockdown, we used to have to fish things out the window. We could don't tell anybody about that. Those are my wild out days for sure. So anyway, let's go check this out. Zhenjiang City, Hubei province. And if you look, I don't know how well you can see this, but the doors are all boarded up, and they're boarding they're reinforcing them with 2x4s, and they're using bracing on them so they can't get out. It's madness, right? It's fucking madness. I'm telling you. But it's, you know, it's just to give perspective. And to be like, you know, look at this, right? So you gotta take your thoughts and collect them and figure out what's your best options, right? What actions can you take, right? Cause it's some like what he's showing here is like all the doors are all boarded up. Everything's boarded up. And they got bracing on them. All sealed. No house is spared. Oh my fuck, eh? And like the windows got bars and stuff on them. All these windows got bars and stuff, right? It's crazy. You know, and it's just, you know, but basically that it just keeps going like that, and he's showing everything. But yeah, it's a lot, right? And we wonder like what we can do, and you might think that there's nothing that you can do, but there's always, you know, at least being informed. That's the start, right? But yeah, the stock markets are just taking a shit crash, and they floated for a while. They did actually when they locked everything down. They kind of fluctuated a little bit when they locked the city down, but then it wasn't until they announced public health emergency of international concern. So, you know, the global warning. That's when things took a big dive. But China, you know, they liquidated all their assets from the central bank, everything that they could, all their liquidatable assets gone, and then they put all that money into the market, $171 billion in one day. And it floated for a while. Everything floated. All right, and China said, oh yeah, we're going back to work. They said after the Lunar New Year, they extended it for a week. But then they said, yeah, we're going back to work. But, all the schools were still closed. All the grocery stores are still closed. People were in quarantine. We're all going back to work. So then a couple of weeks later, or like a week later, they came out with this broadcast saying that they're imposing these new guidelines for going back to work, and they did a broadcast about it. Said, they showed pictures, everybody was happy and wearing work uniforms and waving and smiling when they all had masks on. And it was Chinese propaganda media, right, that was coming into that area, and it just looked so disgusting. It was like, yeah, okay. So anyways, they kind of wanted the international community to think that, they had a foothold on this, to stop investors from pulling out, but everybody was already pulling out. Apple pulled out like 2 weeks ago. They had to. Their main manufacturer, Foxconn, it can't make technology anymore. They're making masks. They're making masks for the doctors and frontline people because they can't keep up. So they retrofitted their lines, and one of the biggest technology producers in the world is now making face masks. But that was like 2 weeks ago when they started doing that. And then Apple finally had to crack and say, hey, well, fuck, like there's a board and there's members. It's a this here has got shareholders and stuff in it, and everybody's, they have to follow regulations. And then they just had to say, hey, we're going to take a hit with this. And then as soon as they came out and said that, it was just, yeah, they took a $73 billion hit. And right now they're at 2.27. It was a 5% hit on Monday that they dropped. And right now they're, it's over $100 billion that Apple lost in the last week. $100 billion. That's almost $250 billion. No, it's not quite a quarter. It's $1/10 trillion. But still, that's a lot of fucking money. And it's not about the money. It's about the manufacturing. All right, money's useless now. In China, you could have money, but you can't buy nothing. What are you gonna buy? Can't buy a plane ticket. Actually, you probably can. There's probably ultra rich people that got out of there, and there's actually people who highly support that, and like tens of thousands of rich business people in a country of 1.4 billion people. When the word came down the pipe that things were going south, and you can bet that these guys would have got a heads up, right? They would have, and they all got out before before anybody really knew anything. And then the news came. All right, so it's massive, and this virus itself is fucking crazy. It is. Like, you just have to understand I guess you don't have to understand all the science behind it, but even just understanding is something basic as like the rhythm of nature, right? Viruses do some crazy things. They do, and they can cause bad shit, and they definitely do. But this one here is doing some very unique things, and it's and the only other virus that was tied to this that affects our ACE2 binding site,
Tensinogen.
Yeah. Angiotensinian. Or angiotensin. Sorry. Holy Jesus. I'll just let this guy explain it. But no, I'm not gonna go into that right now. But it's this specific virus communicates with our ACE2 receptors. Our ACE2 receptors they control our blood pressure, our cardiac. Like, I'm thinking, I don't know. It would seem possible, like, if there, we're seeing these people just dropping in the streets. What if it's just massive heart attack? Right? Or like, because this ACE2, but I don't know. It could be a lot of different things, right? But they're just, people are literally just dropping from this. And it makes me question, like, what is it? Is it neurological? Like, does it do something to your brain first, or does it do something to like your cardiovascular system, or like your I don't know, your nervous system, your muscles, like, we don't know, right? But obviously other people are getting affected by this quite differently. And which also brings up the question, there's a lot of support right now that there could possibly be 2 different versions, or more than 2. The first one's, like, they're, it's kind of treatable, it's curable. But then there's another one, and that's way worse. And it's way more fatal. And I think that's what we're seeing, is when we see these people just drop or something. I don't know. It's hard to know, right? But maybe this is just a long onset. Like, once you get this, it could take up to months. You could feel great. You because some people are getting sick, some people are getting better, and it's really odd why these people are getting better, and they have virus. They still have the virus in their system. I did have that up somewhere. Blah. But there's pieces. There's pieces of virus still in the samples, and they say, well, we don't know what that means. What do you mean you don't know what that means? And they're like, well, we don't know if they're dead or alive, but they're in there, and people are, the tests are coming back negative, though. Tests are coming back negative because, do you know why they come back? Do you know, in order to test for this, they use a PCR test. And think of it as, they're looking for a needle in a haystack. All right, but they got this one specific process that they're focusing in on, of all the millions of processes that are going on. And if this process isn't happening, they can't look for it. It's just not there, right? As if it's almost going into a dormant state. But there's a lot of curiosity surrounding why this strain is using the ACE2 receptor. The only other one is from the SARS epidemic back in 2002, 2003. And separate sets of research have asserted that the entry point is the same for the novel coronavirus. Angiotensin. And what does that mean? Well, angio means blood vessel, right? Tension, well, means tension, right? Or sorry, not blood vessel. Yeah, your blood vessels. Yeah. Your vesicles. So it's this here regulates the tension of your blood vessels. Right? It can constrict them. This here, the ACE2, it can affect either high blood pressure or low blood pressure regulation, depending on how this, how these amino acids are cleaved. There's one that's cleaved into a 10 amino acids where it goes, I think, a high blood pressure, and then there's one that gets clipped off and it has 8, I think, and it regulates low blood pressure, something like that. But it constricts and contracts your blood vessels, and it's really weird because this gene, or this I should say protein or enzyme, well, it's a converting enzyme. And when it converts it, it can convert it into ACE1, right? After it converts it, it'll convert it into ACE1. ACE2 is actually dormant. It doesn't have any, it's not really doing anything. It's just inert, floating around, waiting until, these other things happen. But because it's so dormant, I don't know, it makes the whole process of testing for this so much more difficult. It really does. And I'm thinking that this thing, if in fact it's modified in some way, that it's developed, or it has the capabilities of hiding, right? But there is limited science to support either or, except this. Let's just check out. This is a quick little video. It's a 3D modeling of some very important stuff. I've showed this before in my last video, but I'm only going to show the end kind of. This is kind of more concentrated because it tells the differences between the viruses, and he is confirming, or at least from what I can gather, is confirming that the reports that everybody thought were false or wrong are actually, in fact, correct. And the binding sites is what we're gonna, when he says, he compares this to the Wuhan virus and the SARS virus because they both use the ACE2 receptors, and it's the only coronaviruses that do that. And the only other virus that does this is the HIV virus. And it's not the HIV virus, it's the receptors, the glycoprotein. The receptors are what, you see that little ball bouncing around there, see those little spiky things sticking off it? Those are like little receptors. Those are the communication modules, right? And a virus is dead until it comes in contact with one of our cells. And that's actually the scale. Like that virus, like what it's clicking to, like that big thing that's clicking to, that's one of our little cells. That's a tiny little cell that we have. And that's how big the virus is compared to our cells, right? So it's crazy how small these things are. And like they make this little communication thing, they shake hands, and they confuse our cells into thinking that, hey, everything's all right here, don't worry, yeah, come on in. And it allows it, with this process, to fuse with the cell and infect our cells. And so, yeah, but in order to infect our cells, that communication must happen. And that communication is like, our cells are pretty smart, and our bodies have pretty good defense system, and they know when something's attacking it, or when there's a foreign object, most of the time. But this here is so stealthy. It's not even causing an immune reaction so much in our bodies, unless it's, I don't know, it's weird. But anyway, so back into this, it's all about these communication points, and there's spike proteins, and that's what they're called, the spikes. And coronaviruses are covered in spikes. And the HIV virus actually only has like a couple of spikes. It really does. It only has like 3, 4, 5, 6 spikes, half a dozen spikes on each virus. But it's so potent in its communication with those spikes, it doesn't need a whole bunch of them like the coronaviruses. Right? Coronaviruses need more of them because they're adapting more. They need more they can't infect as much, so they develop more of these little sensors. Right? The HIV virus is so efficient, it doesn't need all these little spikes. It just needs a couple. All right, but now we have essentially a virus that has the infectability of like one of these little tiny spikes in a HIV, but now there's, there's only 5 of them on HIV, and we know how infectious that is. Half a dozen of these little spikes on the virus molecule. And on the virus molecule of coronaviruses, well, it's covered in spikes, right? So it's just, it's only amplifying it, is what I'm trying to get at. So, yeah, glycoproteins, and let's compare them. This guy's got some cool stuff to show us.
Okay, so here's the actually from the electron microscopy that shows the ACE2 in brown. Here's the spike, it's flipped up. When it's attached to the ACE2, what they see in the electron microscope is the thing is even more flexible. So let's see. There we go. Let me see if I give you a better angle that shows this motion. Okay, so the thing can swing in and out. And what they observe next is that half of the spike just falls off when the ACE2 attaches. This is in SARS. Okay, what the top half falls off. And here I changed the color scheme on you a little bit. The bottom half I colored light colors, light red and light blue, and this light green kind of looks gray. Each of these 3 copies of the protein is cut at a certain point, and I marked it in red where it's cut. A protease, another molecule, makes a cut right here, and that's totally critical. If the cut's not made, then the virus can't infect. Okay, so each of the 3 ones has a cutting point, and what they observe is this green copy, the top half with the ACE2 floats away, and then the red and the blue, they don't have ACE2, only one of them. These become unstable. They no longer stay attached, and they float away, and we're left with just this bottom light-colored portion of the spike. And this bottom portion in the middle exposes the mechanism which allows it to fuse with the human cell. Okay, is this what's going on in Wuhan coronavirus? So everything I'm showing you is for SARS. We don't have the structures for Wuhan coronavirus, but one thing we can do is we can look at the difference between this SARS virus and Wuhan virus, because we know the chemical structure of the Wuhan virus from its genetic code. So let me color the differences between the two. Let's see, I have a little button I made to do that. There we go. So I colored every part of this green molecule, 1/3 of the spike, orange if it was different between the Wuhan and the SARS virus. So you see, it looks like a lot of orange. It's only about 25%. It's about 75% identical, which is a high amount of identity. When 2 proteins in your body are 75% identical, generally they function nearly exactly the same. Okay, but it would be, what we'd really want to look at here is sort of the really important part here where it's attaching to this ACE2 molecule. We see a lot of orange at the interface between the two. And that would make me suspect that this isn't quite right. For Wuhan virus. SARS virus and Wuhan virus are probably a bit different here. And in fact, if I only had this evidence, I would probably think that Wuhan virus wasn't even using this ACE2.
Okay, and just to stop right there real quick. So, this orange area that we're seeing here is what's different about the SARS one. I know that might just look like a color, but even one of those little specks is a major difference. This top part where the orange is most concentrated is where the communication happens. So let's just say, to give an analogy, if you're going to be an international traveler, if you're going to travel abroad and you're going to travel everywhere around the world, you'd probably get along a lot better if you knew how to speak a couple of languages, to these places that you went to. If you knew how to speak French, you go to, in Paris, you do all right. You might not do so good in Germany with French, right? But if you can get more languages, the more languages that you can speak, the better you're going to be able to communicate, right? And this is basically, in essence, what this is. It has a better communication device. And it's infecting our cells in a very odd way that doesn't seem natural to nature. Nature wouldn't gather these. It's being very specific in how it's infecting and where it's infecting and why it's infecting this specific place. It's not only that this receptor is absolutely phenomenal in senses of a virus, and that's why HIV is so infectious. It's not the virus itself. The virus has to communicate with the cell before it can get inside. It has to infect you first, right? In order for it to do that, there's got to be a communication that happens, right? So this specific protein on HIV, this glycoprotein, is actually got residues in specific points on this genome that make it very highly implausible that this came out of nature. And regardless if it did, nature, you goddamn scary. Because it just evolved to speak many cellular languages. And that's what's scary. That's what we know about the protein. We don't know a whole lot about what's going on inside the virus yet. The virus is separate of this protein. It just does the handshake. And then that allows it to get inside. And then whatever's inside that virus, that's where the real magic, or that's where, we don't know what's going on in there. But we do know from recent papers and current studies and a lot of speculation that this here has properties that are just not attainable in a natural way for a virus to follow this evolution. And what makes it more interesting and what gives it this very short timeline is that this is a relative of SARS. The SARS that broke out in China in 2002, 2003, this is the closest relative of it. That was only like less than 20 years ago. So, in order for a virus to even... no, that would be just like me trying to spontaneously grow a pair of wings and fly away right now. Like, it's just, no. I could try, but it's not going to happen. It's not part of evolution in the chain, in the sense that evolution, you've got to follow a curve. Sometimes nature does bounce, yes, and veers off, but not in 20 years. I don't give a fuck fuck? You know, are you know, and the Earth's flat. You know, it is. It really is. I seen it from space. It looks like we're on a big fucking frisbee. Just so you know, I'm a flat earther. Strong and proud. So, back to this. Actually, do we need to get back to this? Yeah, we'll get back to this. Because I got some crackers, I'm going to eat some, and some cheese and stuff. So, but what's very vital here is he's pointing out the differences between the SARS and this new one. Alright? And there is major differences up here with this orange concentration. That's huge differences. Major. And what it is specific proteins placed in specific places for a specific reason. Yes, it's not natural.
Okay, because there are so many differences right there. But experiments that were done in the last few weeks already confirmed that Wuhan virus indeed is using ACE2. Okay, but we can expect that our model based on SARS is going to be a little bit off because there are a lot of differences in the critical location where it binds. All right, I want to show you one last thing, and that is what can your immune system do to fend off this virus? So here's another structure, again of SARS, because we don't have the equivalent one for Wuhan. It's the spike, and instead of the red, blue, green coloring, I made it all white because I wanted you to focus on this colored part at the top. Okay, the orange is the differences, all the locations where there are differences between the Wuhan virus and SARS. And at the top, these colored blobs are antibodies. These are things your immune system produces. These are fragment antibodies, like the light green and the olive. This is a light chain and heavy chain. An actual antibody in your body is about twice as big as this, but this is a fragment that they use in experiments because it's simpler to work with. So there are 3 antibodies, 3 pairs here. I've colored them differently, again, just to see, to easily distinguish them, but they're the same antibody. It's an antibody called S230. It came from a patient who survived SARS. And you see that it binds at the tip of the spike, right near where the ACE2 would bind. And this is a neutralizing antibody. And by covering the spikes of the SARS virus with the antibody, the ACE2 isn't able to bind, and then the virus isn't able to recognize cells and infect them. Okay, so this is a mechanism your immune system uses to fight off the virus. If it can't get into your cells, then it can't reproduce. All right. One other thing that I told you I was going to come back to was these sugars. And I've colored them pink in this structure, and they're all over the surface. And these sugars are a technique viruses often use to defend themselves against the immune system. Your cells in your body and proteins, molecules on the surface of your cells, like the ACE2, often have sugars coating them. And so your immune system does not generate an attack against sugars generally, because then it would end up attacking your own body. So the spike here has disguised itself with all these sugars. But the problem is, up where it needs to recognize the host cell, it can't put sugars there because they would be in the way. They would prevent the recognition with ACE2. And so that's a vulnerable part. And so that's where we see this antibody bound. Okay. When I showed you earlier that the tips of the spikes, the 3 copies were folded in, that may be a mechanism to disguise the virus from these antibodies and from the immune system.
Okay, we're just going to stop right there. Just give me 1 sec. I'm going to see if this is any better for audio. Bear with me 1 minute. Damn. Okay. I'll fix this. Stream might go down, but I will be back. Alright, I think that might be up and running again. Give me 2 seconds to verify everything and make sure we're actually streaming. Yeah, I had issues there, but anyway, I got the VPN up. It might alleviate some concerns, I don't know. We'll find out anyway. Okay. Alright, so gonna go into this. This is a video right away about Iran. They're having issues. This is a little older. Yeah, we're just gonna check this out because it's only a little short little clip, but it shows that, you know, in Iran their medical personnel are now in hazmat suits, you know, so they're well aware of what's going on in this situation right now. So yeah. Yeah, and they got suits and stuff on right there. They're up and rolling. And another video. This is in China. People at the bank, but the bank has been burning all the money in China because, you know, the spread of the virus and it's contaminated. The money's got virus on it. Because this, you know, this can in fact live on surfaces for untold amount of time. They say most coronaviruses can live up to 4 to 9 days, given the right circumstances, right? So, yeah, they're burning the money, and all these people are out here in front of the bank, I guess. And let's just take a look at this video. That's incredible. That's absolutely incredible. Okay, so this here is another collage I found. This is January 24th that this came out. But it has, I'm pretty sure it has an original, or if this isn't the original, you know, this is one. We'll go right into this one. And this is, a lot of people might have seen this, but the text has changed on some of it. Now, this here is verified. This was the original context. I shared this when it first came out, and it was on my Facebook wall, and I found it. So just listen to what he has to say. This is a doctor who's yelling at the top officials or somebody, you know, saying like, what the hell's going on? Like, because they want to transfer more patients to his hospital, right? The number 5 hospital are going to shift patients to this hospital. And the person taking the video, I'm assuming, is a nurse who is you know, succumbing to this disease or whatever, or the virus, right? Because you can tell she's really dilated in her breath and her breathing when she talks. So, and you have this other nurse trying to calm the doctor down, like, come on, the director's coming. Don't, you know, the director's the head of the hospital, but now we know the director has in fact died at this hospital. The director of the Wuhan hospital has died. If you just want to go search that and Google it. And she's saying, no, calm down, the boss is coming, kind of thing. But the boss was already gone. Everybody was gone, and this is old. This is old video. This is like the 22nd, 21st, 20th. So yeah, and here is the original English subtitle.
说什么？你们5个只是看了8万个病，还他妈1天4个班，还把我们抽了8个人去上班，我们不想活。你自己看。你们到底想干什么？你们啊？我不要人，你把那些病人都搞走，躺在地上那个拿走。痛不痛啊？你跟院长说不要我干了，又给搞得就把我免了，算了，叫我滚蛋，回家。这样跟我这样说。警察睡的不好。我没有闹。那病躺那么多怎么办？叫他们院长过来看看。院长谁过来？你让病人去跟。没用，我去了。把诊断台了。啊？我不知道哪个是院长，我去了，我连1、2、3、4、5、4长热线都打了。不要医生，我不要医生，我有医生，我打死人家，我能看病，你把这个病人。
七里庙啊，七里庙车站那里了，走得蛮好的，打好了。
Okay, yeah. So, but that is there's another. It goes on for a little longer than that in another video. But that's the only one I could find. But, you know, I'm just going to let this roll through, because there's a lot of good clips in here, and these are old clips. This is going to give us an idea of what's really going on. And this isn't a joke. As you can see up here, you can see up behind the lamppost, there's a black object way up behind the bicycle tire, you know, but it's on the ground, right? That's a person. And it just fell down. And a lot of these videos are just people falling down. Alright, so this is what we're dealing with. This isn't the flu. I don't know what's, you know, what they're talking or what they're telling us. But, you know, we got to take this into our own hands and gather our own information. And I wouldn't show these videos if I wasn't sure that they were at least authentic enough to show. So, let's roll it.
到了啊！你晓得怎么回事的？
And what makes these authentic is that there's people like these medical staff are showing up in hazmat suits, right? They know, like somebody called and said, hey, a person just fell down, right? There's actually stairs right behind there, but this guy didn't fall down the stairs. He fell down walking. He was just walking and fell face first. But there's people on the stairs. That person in the black jacket there, they're on the first stair. And then up a couple of more stairs, you can see this person's jacket in the bottom corner. So this is a set of stairs, but he didn't fall down the stairs. Which, you know, he could have. But they showed up in hazmat suits from a person who suddenly collapsed. Huh. Well, when did you ever see anybody showing up in hazmat suits for a medical emergency? I'm just wondering. This is around like the 21st, 22nd, 23rd. This is before all the big lockdown. This is when they were saying, no, it was all good. I was watching all this at the time going, what the fuck? So, you can tell it's real from the most part. Look at the masks. Everybody's wearing masks. It's a viral situation. Right? The ambulances, that's Wuhan ambulance. I've Googled it. I've looked it up. It's the same color. The license plates are yellow. I vetted these as best as I possibly could. And I'm telling you, they're legit. And people are just fucking collapsing. And this is a healthy businessman. That's a businessman. But if you look, there's other videos. I don't show it, but there's other videos that are here of this situation, because there's a few people videotaping this. There's actually somebody from behind the ambulance as well, taping from another angle, and then there's another person, I guess, on the stairs as well. But it shows like this guy just fell down and smashed his face. Like he took a hard tumble. He didn't even brace himself or nothing. He ate dirt, like instantly. I'm sorry, but that's what happened. There was no reactive response or nothing. That was it. whatever happened. And that's a lot of these videos are doing this. And there's some very graphic images, so I will caution. But at the same time, you know, you better get used to it, because we're going to see a lot of graphic images, just not on our television screens or on our computer screens. It's going to start coming to a neighborhood or a city near us. And I'm not saying that to, you know, create any kind of panic. It's just the way it is. So be prepared is my message in all of this streaming to everyone out there. You know, don't freak out and panic, you know, but at the same time, be prepared. If you can prepare, be prepared. Take your measures, take your information, do what you will with it. All right, that's my voice saying it, and I've literally just started this whole streaming thing just so I could purposely talk about this and get it out, because I knew there's something wrong from day one. And everybody who talked about anything, well, all of a sudden, no, you're spreading false news. You're spreading false news and all blah 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 blah. Because that's what people's response. That's a quick way for people to, you know, deflect. You know, to have to think about it for themselves, right? And honestly, it's how people of most religions are like that, because you know, they deflect all their problems onto a higher power. You know, they're not taking responsibility for their own, you know, situation. It's somebody else's problem, right? So, but anyways, that's a whole new spiel. And I'm not saying anything bad against any religion. People's beliefs are their own beliefs. I have my own beliefs. Everybody does. And I respect that. I respect everybody for that. But, you know, my opinions are my own. So let's go.
恐不恐慌，严不严重，看你们还戴不戴口罩，都当是小事。可能是现在武汉市是个么情况？
炖个汤，然后煮点苕粉。
So it's not streaming then. What?
你别哭了。
这是在汉口医院，人山人海的病人，很多都是发高烧的，就在这个门诊部的中间，有那么3-4个医生在那里分诊。
My apologies. I think the stream got interrupted somehow, some way. If there's anybody watching, I'm going to start this back off from scratch and just start a new one over. Because I just continued on from the last one. I will be back.